the schedule been like this week so far? Good?
It's been good.
It's been good? So far, so good. You feel no stress at all, everything's just... That's how the first of the year always is, right? I know y'all are telling me a little... I didn't sleep, there we go, now we're getting some honesty.
I'll be honest.
Okay. Well, I heard that you've got a little bit of information about me. So I'm going to tell you something that you may not know, okay? I am a musician first, and then a teacher second. I was going to be a concert pianist growing up. And so every time I come in a music room, I want to go play instruments. I just want to come in and start banging on things, you know? Because it really would be banging, since the only thing I really can play is a piano. But anyway, I just thought you might want to know that little bit of information, since I truly think that music, art, physical education really play a part. Those fine arts really play a part in what we do in education, which I know is what you believe as well, right? So I just wanted you to know why I probably am such a believer, is because my life has been centered around the fine arts as I move forward. So at this time, I want to tell you a little bit more about me before we start this exercise. And then I hear I have you until 4 o'clock today. Is that right? Well, you're all listening. That's a good thing. 12:30. Is that more like it? All right. You know, I'll check your listening skills occasionally to see how you're doing. You know, I started in education 34 years ago. And in that 34 years, I believe, now this is my own perception, and as I tell my students at TCU, you know, perception is 100% of the game out there, right? Because whatever you believe, whatever you think you see, whatever your experiences are, that's what you think life is. And so my perception is that I have learned a lot in my 34 years. Now somebody else might come along and say, Debbie, you know nothing. But as far as I'm concerned, I've learned a lot. And one of the rules of thumb that I think I've always continued to live by is I need to learn something every day. Something every day. I don't care what it is, I've got to learn something every day. So it doesn't mean I have to go to a class and learn something there. It doesn't mean I have to go and talk to somebody to learn something over there. It just means that through observation, through listening, through talking, through watching other practices, techniques, whatever it is, that I learn something every day. Which takes me to what I just said, which is perception. Perception is truly built around beliefs, attitudes, values. And you're all sitting here today with all coming with different experiences, different attitudes, different values, different beliefs. There probably aren't two people in here that see everything exactly the same, right? So, you know, I do two things in my practice. I play a lot and I mess with people's heads. So that's what I'm here to do today. So this is the first activity where I'm going to mess with your heads. Are you good with that?
Yes.
All right. Okay, good. This activity, if anybody has used this before, is called a processor. And the way it works is I'm going to give you two very different words on a continuum. And I want you to decide where you are on that continuum. Now, I can do it one of several ways. You know, I've also learned in life that if you really think there's only one way to do something, watch kids. Right? Now, it may not get you to the best choice, but there's always more than one way to do this. So I'm going to tell you 2 or 3 ways that we could do this today, and then because of the structure of this activity, the structure of this room, we're going to do it this one particular way because it'll work better for you. But how we could do it is everybody lines up in a line from right here all the way back. And as I say the 2 terms, you step out so many steps either direction based on the word that I've given you. Okay? That wouldn't work in here today, would it? I mean, it could. We could clear out tables. But with the number of people we have, I don't think with piano and all, and over here, I don't think we have enough room. Is anybody thinking we should try it? Because we still have to move sideways
We
too.
could wrap around and
Well, I mean, because here's the thing. When we move, we got to move up to 3 steps this way and up to 3 steps this way. Why? Yeah, we need more space, I think. But the second way we can do it is right here at our tables. And what you'll do is you'll picture in your mind that center is right in front of you. Okay? And then take your pen, pencil, an object. It could be an egg. That'd be fine. It could be a candy. I don't care. And you, whatever your center, use one of them for your center. And then whichever way that you're going with it, you'll go like 1, 2, 3 out to this side, any variable of that, or 3 the other way. Okay, does that make sense? And then what we'll do, we won't actually see the big visual like a playground would be. But at that point, you'll see which direction you're going, and we'll see what directions other people are going. And then we'll talk about it. Okay? And I've brought specific word choices today because of where I'm going with the activities we're going to do. All right? So get something that's your center piece, and then something that will be your marker. So we're going to try one together, and let's just make sure we all have the right directions. So here's your center, right? And when I say 2 words, if I said bad and good, what I'm wanting you to decipher is which one are you more like? No, you don't have to do this one. I'll see the horns start to come out. No. But if it were, what I would say is, and we're not all facing the same direction, but over here would be bad, and over here would be good. And then you make it as far out, like you're really good, or you're really bad, or you're somewhere in between from your center. Does that make sense? Okay, so varying degrees of something. Or you can be right there in the middle. I'm neither good nor bad, I'm just so neutral, it's just hard to believe how neutral I am, right? I mean, you can be right there in the middle. So, let's try one. Ready? Cooperating or competing? Which one are you more like? Cooperating or competing?
Is cooperating to the right or to the left?
Oh, competing is to the left, cooperating is to the right. Well, that would be different for you, but competing, cooperating, all right? Okay, now, how many of you, because we can't see the visual of you standing out, but how many of you were more cooperating than competing? Raise your hands. Okay, look around the room. Okay, put those down. Competing? All right. Now, yes, be proud. Okay, now, I realized something just for this one little exercise, that when the majority hold up their hands, what do the others feel like? Bad. Okay, good and bad. The ones that don't have as many hands up feel like, well, maybe I'm not part of the right way, right? Maybe I'm supposed to be cooperative. Maybe I'm going to lose my job today. Paula, no. Maybe I'm going to lose my job. I mean, those kind of thoughts go through our head, right? And especially if you're saying, yes, I'm on board, and somebody's over here going, no, I don't like this. But are they going to say that? If everybody's saying, yes, let's do this, and they're going, okay, let's do this, right? So don't be afraid to be whichever way you are. Now, what degree of cooperating? Because this is where competition may say, oh, well, they're not as cooperative as I thought they were. What degree of cooperative are you? Just give me some examples of what you think you are in a cooperative manner versus a competitive. Anybody want to talk?
I think I'm a cooperator on a scale of 1 to 5, about 4.
About a 4. So you really are, you're really more cooperative, okay? Reason why, I mean, why do you think that about yourself?
I just like peace and harmony.
Okay.
I just like it.
Okay, all right. Anybody else on the cooperative side that wants to say something?
No, go ahead.
Look at both of you.
dancers, I'm very, very competitive.
Okay.
So,
So
Yeah.
now you're starting, so now what's happening here is you're now petitioning cooperative, right?
maybe I want everyone to believe the way I believe. So I will speak my mind until you agree with me.
So it's more persuasive than cooperative. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm cooperative to the point of, you being a musician also. When you go through school, you have lots of opportunities to compete, and I never wanted to. I was always a choral singer, and I wanted to be part of the ensemble, and I wanted to make a piece of music come alive, cooperating with other people. Now, having to sing solos, I would get so terribly nervous, and I don't anymore, just because out of experience. But I would rather sing in a wedding or a funeral than sing in a competition. I just would rather cooperate and have everyone work together and be happy and harmonious.
Okay. And so do you think that, and this is just a short question and it'll get other people thinking too, do you think that as a result of that, you use that in all pieces of your life, or do you think there's ever a time that you kind of move over to the competitive side? Like in a discussion with someone.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm married, and so I have lots of discussions.
Well, that's kind of where I was going.
And so, and I do have opinions, and there are certain things that I know that I'm right about, and I may not be, but I just think I
The
really
perception.
Yes, and if the discussion starts to go in a circle where nothing's happening, I want to stop, because I don't like that feeling of just, why are we wasting our time talking about this?
All right, good. Yes.
I think as I've gotten older, I learned that, hey, cooperate with the small stuff, everything you can. And unless it's something that is just, you feel very strongly about. I do have a pet peeve, and that's black and white, people who see things a certain way. Well, you have to do it this way, Emery, because the policy book says this. And we have to do it this way, and I'm going to tell on you. I just like to do what I think seems right to me. And sometimes things don't matter, and it's wedding the small stuff.
Okay, now were you more cooperative or competitive?
Cooperative, I'm not competitive.
Not competitive. Okay, so you, and are you real cooperative? Were you?
No.
So on a scale of 1 to 5 on the cooperative side, where would you be?
4.
Okay, give yourself a little bit there. Okay, all right.
I try.
Okay.
As I've gotten older, I've learned to be more cooperative.
Okay. All right. Now, this is not, we don't have to bare our souls kind of stuff, but at the same time, it's really fun to get ideas, because as we move through with a couple more of these, and then I'm going to come back to them again later after I do some other stuff, and then we'll come back to them one more time at the end. I think you'll see some growth in how you think versus where you are right now with how you think. So keep in mind that I'm working through a thinking process, all right? Competitive side, I don't want to forget the competitors here, because they're really wanting to get out here and, let y'all know how they really feel, because they're competitive. We have 4 of you in the room. So make sure they're always on separate teams, so we don't have them ganging up on anybody. No, it's teamwork. Exactly, put you all together. They'll think they always win, because they're so good. They're always going, oh no, everybody wins. No, we won. So, do you want to talk? Sure. Okay. What would you say is the reason that you feel that you're over here on the competitive side?
I've grown up knowing that I'm extremely strong-willed, so I question things and I want to know why, and I don't know, I just think that challenges the system when you want to know why. So I wouldn't say in sports, I wasn't competitive until I started running, and I ran my first 5K, and I look around and I'm like, I'm going to beat everyone doing it, so that kind of brought it.
Okay, all right. But overall, it's just you trying to find out why things happen. Okay, good. You want to talk?
I don't know. I'm just competitive.
That's okay. It's good.
You know?
It's okay.
I mean, I'm cooperative too.
You're cooperative.
You know.
So would y'all feel that you're way over or in the middle or?
I'm probably not right to the middle, but I can be.
You're like a 3 or 4?
Depending on the topic, but I too will voice my opinion pretty strong
Okay.
if I feel certain about something.
All right. Anybody else competitive that wants to talk? I can't remember who it was over here. Natasha.
What can I say? I was just competitive. I mean, I cooperate too. If you cooperate in a team,
Sure.
you win, right?
Yep.
Everybody wins.
Yep.
That's the way.
Okay. It's just how you're
That's my
built.
nature.
All right. No
But I
problem.
bet, you know, we watch our children play, but, you know, we're like this. Like, we want to get out there because we know the strategy, we can get it figured out, we can get to the goal or
Yep.
whatever
Exactly.
it is.
Now, I brought up this terminology for a reason. What's my topic today? Do you think that at times being cooperative or competitive can get in the way of the right decision in a situation? So keep that in mind as I start moving in another direction. Because remember, I do mess with heads, so just keep that in mind. Okay, look, you ready for one more?
Yeah.
Let's see which one I want to go with. I think I kind of know this one. Okay, this will give me a little bit different idea of who you are to get started. Over here, sacrificing timeliness for quality. Sacrificing timeliness for quality. Over here, sacrificing quality for timeliness. So efficiency versus quality. You know, do we want to get it done right now? Check, we've done it. Or do we want quality? We want to make sure that we really get the right thing done. Okay? So over here is quality. We're sacrificing quality, sacrificing it for timeliness. This is efficient, and this is quality. Where are you? Put your marker down. Over here, marker, or over here, marker. Okay, so this was sacrificing the timeliness for quality. How many of those did we have? Ooh, look around. Okay, now put your hands down. Let's see the hands. How many over here were sacrificing quality for timeliness? I mean, timeliness for quality, right? Over here?
Efficiency.
Efficiency over here. Sacrificing the quality for timeliness. How many did we have? Did some not raise their hands?
I did, I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle. Okay, how many middle people did we have?
Well, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, let's talk about this for a second, because this also gets into some things I'm going to talk about with ethics in a minute. The people that are over here with quality, how diverse are you over here? On a scale of 1 to 5, how many of you are 5s? Anybody? Okay, so really, really quality. How many of you are in the middle of that 1 to 5? So you're around a 3, so 4, something like that. Okay. How many on the efficiency side are 5s? You want to be efficient. Check it out. Boom, boom, boom. One person.
And
Competitive.
Me.
Oh, there we go. It's our competitive people. All right.
I'm looking really good.
And then, how many are kind of in the middle of that efficiency side? Okay. And then of our middle people, how many of you feel at times that you can be highly one way or highly the other? The middle people, just raise your hand. Okay, highly one way or highly. Okay, so look around the room, because the majority are saying, well, you know, I can be both, and I can really be an extreme on either side. What is any one of those better than another?
there's a
Depends what
time
you're
for,
doing.
one thing and a time for counseling.
Yeah, like if I'm folding laundry really fast, that's okay, but if I'm ignoring a child's needs because, or their learning, that's not okay, so.
Yeah, but sometimes
Situation.
it's okay to just get 50%, 90% of the dog hair. You know?
No, you get all that hair off.
Your dishes, you know, and we sanitize things here, there's things that are really important. But, I mean, every spot doesn't have to be off the rug.
As I was once taught by a colleague of mine, I was at a TCU basketball game one night, and he had his two very little kids like y'all teach every day, had them with him. And they had those little gummy bears that they were eating, and they'd drop one on the floors and step on it, pick it up and eat it. And he's an exercise physiologist who studies the immune system. And he looked at me and he said, this is exactly what he said, and so ever since then I don't worry. He said to me, that's how they build their immune system. It's through germs.
That's true.
And so if you don't allow them to pick up things and eat them, then they don't recognize that those are germs. That's how kids learn that. So they become healthy adults by sometimes being sicker when they're youngsters, but their bodies learn that.
So you can pick up the pacifier and just shove it back in his mouth.
Well, I would not go to that extent. I don't know, my daughter
The second baby dad.
All right, so far, what have you learned from an experience like this where you, and don't say, oh, I learned a lot about so-and-so. No, just what have you learned from this experience about very opposite continuums and where you think you are when you start a discussion? What have you learned about that?
There's no black and white. I mean, depending on, it's situational, depending on how you define different situations. Like I would, it's with people, I'm gonna always choose quality. But there's other places in work ethics that's really important to me, so I want it to be efficient and I do spend time with it. So it's not black and white,
Yeah.
it's situational.
That's
And that
right.
one isn't good or bad, they're just different.
Exactly.
They're just
different. All right, good. Everybody agreed?
Yep.
Oh, do we need to put it on a continuum? Yes, no? No, I'm kidding. All right, so that's, so far, I don't have, hang on here. Whoops, can somebody get me in? I'm on logged out. It may have decided, oh, there we go. All right, let's see if we're ready here. Why do we need ethics? Why do we need character development? Why do we need social stuff? Well, it takes me back to why this has become a big issue for me. And that is, as you know, I went to Finland in the fall of last year. So, oh my gosh, I was getting packed around this time last year, getting ready to go to a place I've never been. Has anybody been to Finland before? Finland is a beautiful, beautiful place. Very, very balanced in everything that they do. And the reason I went is because I had heard how great their educational system was. Now, up until 2 years ago, I truly was focused on physical education, health, activity, exercise psychology kind of stuff. I mean, that's where my focus was. Yes, I taught English in the classroom back a long time ago. When you've gone 34 years, it's like 2 decades ago, right? That seems like forever ago. But I remember every bit of my life as I've moved through, and every bit of it meant something for what I did next. And so with this 2 years that came about, and I read the article in the Smithsonian about how Finland had come from an F to an A+, and what all they had been able to do, I decided that and I'm going to say this, again with continuums, maybe I'm saying something that's too finite, but my last chapter in education, I think, is going to be about how we create a different environment in the school system. And your school is doing fabulous things, model things for what we should be doing in other programs. You know that. You've heard Paula say that. You've heard it, you see it. You know your kids are advancing because of it. You know all these things, right? And when I went, I didn't know about you all. I didn't know you existed. And I went out on this journey to identify different pieces that we could bring back to our society, specifically to Texas first, because Finland is smaller than Texas. The whole country of Finland could be put into Texas and still have area all around it. So population-wise, we're very different, U.S. and Finland. But in many regards, if you can concentrate on one particular state and see if you can make changes there, and then go to another state and see what changes can be made there that complement what the schools or the state has already decided are workable pieces, then eventually the U.S. can make changes. But I don't believe that the U.S. can make changes for all states at the same time, especially after seeing what I saw in Finland. I do not believe that that can happen. I believe that pieces can be implemented, but I don't believe that people at the U.S. level can say, this is what we're doing in all states now, and that you could all accommodate the same way, just like we did with the continuum here. I just don't think that it's that black and white. But at the same time, I came back from that trip, and I realized that one of the pieces that they have in there that for them is very, very important is religion. Now, you notice I didn't say ethics. It's religion. And they teach religion to the majority of the kids in the schools. That is their content area, is religion. And I'll talk more about this in a minute, the difference in religion versus ethics in Finland. But I knew when I was over there that there's no way that we could come back here and institute religion in the schools, in the public schools. And why is that? Separation of church and state, right? Although I have to tell you, when I was in high school, we received Bible credit in Dallas ISD at Thomas Jefferson High School, where I graduated from, in 1973 through 1975. So this was not always a separation of church and state like we see it today. You could get credit for things like that back in my day, versus today, we're completely separated, church and state. Now, I'm not getting on a religious kick here. What I'm trying to tell you is that a lot of things have changed since I was in school to where we are today. And what I was trying to find out is what is changing that makes things so good in Finland. And one of the pieces is the religious piece for them. If they don't have 2 or 3 students that are the same religion, then they have to take an ethics class. But if there are 2 or 3 of a certain religion, then they hire a religious person of that church or that entity to come in and teach those 2 to 3 kids. So at this time, their majority religion there is Lutheran. Greek Orthodox, Catholic fall behind that just a little bit. And then they have a series of like 2 to 3 students that are all different kinds of other religions. It's getting too expensive to do what they're doing. And so the conversations that I had with the people at the top of the Finnish government, all the way down to the administrators and the teachers in the schools, was that probably in the next 5 years, religion will be out of their curriculum and ethics will be in the curriculum. So I knew when I went over there that I was learning something on their end that was making a shift as they moved because of the expense of it, the way they had it. But they were moving still to a place where ethics was a key player. And when do they do ethics? They do it from the time kids come into school until they graduate. Every year, built around curriculum. not just a philosophy, but actual curriculum that they implement it's not a daily basis, it's about 3 days a week that they teach certain concepts within that curriculum. They don't have, the U.S. has, everything is sold in the U.S., right? That's what our freedom is that we can sell things and we can market things. And so we buy things here to implement into our schools. Over there, they don't. I'll give you an example of this. A guy that I was working with in a physical education setting while I was there said to me, I have a great idea for an activity. Go ahead, take it to the U.S. and sell it. But don't worry, I don't need the money because we don't do that kind of stuff here. But you go ahead if you want to do that, but just give me credit for it. That's the mindset difference in Finland versus in the U.S., where we want to profit from things that we do, right? And over there, it's just for the good of the people. It's for the good of the students. It's for the good of everybody else. And so their curriculum is shared among all. It's just, we share what we do, and you take pieces here, and you take pieces over here, and we share that, and we make it what we want to in our classrooms, which would fit very well with you all, right? Because y'all do things based on you've got a schedule, and you work it the way it fits best for you within your classroom, and you move around those pieces. That's what Finland does. And so I think you understand to a great extent what they're doing because you do a lot of what they already do. It's built into your program. But on the ethics side of things, there are curriculums here that we've learned about that actually implement a lot of this development for the K-12 setting here in the States or wherever somebody wants to use it, versus over in Finland not having a specific written curriculum that they use. If I wanted to get that from them, I'd have to talk to individual teachers. I'd have to find out, what are your topics? Where do you go to get your information? I know the WHO, the World Health Organization, is one of the places they go to pull down some of their information. I know things that they do, but there's nothing in writing that says this is a curriculum we follow. So I wanted you to understand that before I get into this, just so you understand kind of the mindset that I came from coming back to the U.S. And once I got back, it was about trying to make connections with schools, school districts, to create some change in the way we do public schools and the way that we see working with kids in the public schools. My ultimate goal, at some point before my 10-year chapter is up, is to see public schools thriving again instead of it only being the private schools. Because I truly believe without public schools thriving, eventually we won't have an education system. And I see your head shaking. It's very true. We will not have an education system that is worthy or strong enough to be our U.S. hang our hat on, this is what we do. We'll be struggling to just have kids who can open and shut a door. And that's the part I don't want to see. And so I am moving in a direction, trying to make a change, and I'm taking anybody with me that wants to create a public school environment worthy of our tax dollars again. With that, Project ISIS is the name of the project that I've developed, and it stands for Innovating Strategies, Inspiring Students. And Project ISIS is now the project that will go forward to look at, and I'll show you in a minute, the different things that we are going to try to change over the next few years. But this year in particular, I'm working with Trinity Valley. Some of you may know that school, and I'm sure you all do. And StarPoint, which is our lab school at TCU. And we're implementing some of these pieces this year in those schools. And then next year we'll launch in public schools. And the districts that are very much interested, and I can go ahead and tell you because we were so close to launching this year and we're just putting it off one more year. Irving ISD, Eagle Mountain Saginaw, and Fort Worth ISD. There may be others before this year is up who decide they want to try something. I just think that the more school districts who have open minds to try some of these new things, the better off we are. And one more thing that I think is very important for you to know is Finland didn't just do this on their own. Remember I told you they went from an F to an A+? You want to take a guess at who they learned from? Anybody?
Parents.
Parents? No?
Kids.
No? How about pick a country? Sweden would be a good guess, but no.
Our mistakes,
Who?
our mistakes.
They learned from the U.S. And today they are the #1 country in the world for education. And we're number 21, 27, 32 in reading, math, and science. And they're number 1, 2, and 6. They learned from us in the 1960s. Now, if you think back to where we were in the 1960s and where they are, think about this. Now, some of you can't because were y'all born yet? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think some of you were born yet. The 1960s. I'll just put it in perspective. Kennedy was killed in Dallas in the 1960s. I was in first grade that year that he was killed in Dallas, and they closed our schools and sent us home. Okay? So that kind of puts it in perspective when they were doing this. What else was going on in the 60s? Russia was competing with the U.S. for who was getting to the moon first, and there was also a missile threat going on with Cuba. All this was going on in the 60s. Now, for some, this is like blah, 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 because I don't remember any of this. But for anybody that was in the 60s, let me talk education. We had probably the highest percentage of kids being raised in churches of any time in our history. Okay? Highest percentage of kids being raised in churches. Now, there's a reason I say this. I don't care if you're religious, Christian, Jewish, I don't care what you are. What does religion bring to kids that they don't necessarily get at home, but because they were in churches they were getting?
Moral values.
How to love others.
Yes. Treat unto others as you would treat yourself. Respect, love, good and bad, all the morals, all the compassion, all the ethics, the values, everything was there, right? Today, we're at the lowest number of kids attending church ever. Ever. Okay? So, where is our problem? Religion is still important in Finland. That's where they get all the things that we talk about from an ethics perspective. But if we aren't going to go to church, if that's not going to be part of our lives, then what's our next best thing? We got to have ethics. Because if we don't, then we lose a moral compass. And I have to tell you, and this is my own perception at this point, there's nothing in research that shows this statement that I'm going to say, and you can run me out on the rail at 12:30. But we've lost our moral compass already.
Yeah.
There are things going on right now among us that are not morally right, and we don't see it wrong. We don't see it as wrong. We just see it. Yeah, we just see it as, well, it's okay.
It is.
And this goes back to what happened to us prior to losing all the church stuff, is that in the schools, and I remember this because I was a school teacher during this time, an administrator would say to me, Debbie, I know you want this child to have a consequence, but is it really all that bad? We have other kids that are going to jail. Is this really all that bad? Really? So where we are today is all that bad is you had to kill somebody. Prison's not even all that bad anymore, right? You got to kill them to be bad. my point is that our moral compass is not there to distinguish what we should and shouldn't do anymore. If nobody's looking, it's okay. And I'll give you an example of this. I was out I do in-service trainings out in the schools all the time. And I basically, well, I do all kinds of in-service, but this one was a physical education in-service. And I write curriculum for physical education. And it's in the Fort Worth ISD schools. And I teach that curriculum to the Fort Worth ISD physical education teachers. And in that curriculum, it talks about social development. It teaches social and character development through PE. And one of the things that I emphasize over and over and over again is how the teachers are the role models. And whether somebody's watching you or not, trust me, somebody's watching you. You just don't know it. But somebody's watching. And they're picking up on it. And so we're playing games, and I just want you to know, I teach this to them all the time. I'm always talking about it. So we get into a game that has to do with buckets. And the buckets or cones are all where bean bags underneath these buckets are hidden. And each team, so if this is a team, y'all are a team, y'all are a team, y'all are a team, y'all are a team, you all have a different color of bean bag, right? And those bean bags have been hidden by another team's member. Your bean bags are hidden by this team, and your bean bags are hidden by that team. Out in the field, under the cones, or under the who's the, whatever, the thing that covers it. Then each team, one at a time, goes out, opens up a cone to see if their bean bag's under. If it's not, you close it back down and you go back to your line. Next person goes, sees if they can find one. One cone, turn it over, turn it back, come back. Is everybody in here clear on that direction? There's no change in that, right? You go out, one cone, pick it up, look, if it's not there, you put it back. If it is there, you take the one bean bag and you bring it back, right? And I already instructed everybody there can't be more than one of the same team's bean bag under a cone. So you would never see that there were 3 or 4 bean bags under a cone. Here's what happened.